This Power Perspective, Creating Community in Downtown, is sponsored by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Please welcome the founder of RiDetroit, Jason Hall.
What's going on, everybody? Let me put you all at ease right now. I'm not here to announce that we're starting slow roll again. I could see everybody's faces. They were like, oh, here comes the traffic guy. And I'm not here to do that, although we might start it again anyway. Shh, don't tell anybody. But once again, my name is Jason Hall. Well, got some fans out there, all right. Maybe you're inspiring me. You heard my name is Jason Hall, and I am the founder of Slow Roll, and I'm also the owner of RiDetroit. RiDetroit is Detroit's premier e-bike tour company. I'm here to talk about e-bikes, talk about bikes, but I'm also here to talk about how that connects to the city of Detroit. So first thing we're going to talk about is creating great places for people to ride, okay? We all know that Detroit is a great city, but it was not at one time one of the most bike-friendly towns, even though a lot of people don't know that one of the first roads that was built in the United States was built in Detroit in 1890, and it was built for bicycles. So we're trying to create a safer place for people to ride. And then we're also trying to get people on bikes more often. That's a huge thing we're talking about. A lot of people know me from Monday nights, and they say, I love to ride my bike on Mondays, but there's 6 more days in the week. And so we're trying to get people to understand that this is the perfect time to be on a bicycle and not necessarily in an automobile. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is, oh, hang on. Here we go. So I was introduced to a concept called the flywheel. Anybody familiar with the flywheel concept? It actually crosses over into retail. It crosses over into a lot of stuff. And basically what the flywheel is a big wheel that goes in a circle. And what we do is we put it in certain sections, kind of how we prioritize things and how those things can affect the next thing and keep the momentum moving on that flywheel. All right, so the first thing and the most important thing for me is obviously a vibrant Detroit cycling community. It was very important to me that we get people out, but it was important that we build a cycling community. Once again, we had people coming out on Mondays for a one-stop shop, but how do we build the cycling community beyond that? So what I started to look at is I started to say I needed to, first off, connect with effective advocacy groups. Okay, we've got groups like Bikes for People. We've got people like Todd Scott who have been working diligently to improve bicycling in the city of Detroit. So I don't like to reinvent the wheel. I like to find the people that are doing work and work with them and help accent them and move forward. So that was the first thing I figured out in my personal flywheel. The next thing was I needed to connect with political leaders and funding, which is why we're here. Trust me, when I was working on Slow Roll, we were a nonprofit, and one of the hardest things to do was to keep that thing moving on a weekly basis. Believe it or not, I'll say some figures that a lot of people don't know, but we paid a minimum of $5,000 a week to the Detroit Police Department. Then we had porta potties, then we had Homeland Security. So how do I keep this thing moving? I had to engage my political leaders and find funding. So without their help, without the help of the mayor and the city of Detroit, we wouldn't have been able to even move Slow Roll. And then my connection with certain political leaders led me to other political leaders because, as we know, the majority of people ride bikes. And there's politicians who ride bikes. And they're down with bicycle advocacy as well. So once I connected with them, then I said, okay, so now I'm starting to build this community. We've got people coming out. I've connected with effective advocacy groups that's pushed me to political leaders and funding. And what's my next step? My next step in this? Events and infrastructure, okay? How do we build a vibrant Detroit cycling community if we don't have events and infrastructure? So we have to have events like Slow Roll, Soul Roll, the MI 500 and things like that. We have to have events that people can come out to so we can introduce them once again, to our vibrant Detroit cycling community, and they can get in the flywheel, and they can learn more about becoming an effective advocate. Then, once we complete the flywheel, the beauty of the flywheel is we don't stop there. Like, we don't get back to the top and say, okay, we've done everything we've done, and we've got this vibrant cycling community. No, we put all the effort back into the flywheel. So once we've reached the top and we've reached X amount of people, then we start the flywheel again with those people. So then eventually that flywheel starts going so fast that it picks up momentum on its own. Do you guys see what I'm talking about? Does this sound like something that we might have been a part of? Maybe slow roll? Okay, what made that ride so successful was introducing people to the fact that it was their ride and not my ride. And once we attached ownership to everybody else, it added to this, all right? So in all of this, the goal is to start with, once again, with great places to ride, and then we have, great places to ride, drive ridership. So we've got great places to drive ridership, like Metropolis Bikes that does a ride on Wednesdays. The Now Trek store, and we'll talk about that in a second, that does stuff during the week. So then we have to talk about city ratings, okay? City ratings is a data-driven thing that they come up with that rates cities around the country against other cities, all right? The top score is 100%. All right, so the score is based on a couple of different things. It's based on opportunities, like opportunities to get to work and school. It talks about retail and how we affect retail and things like that. Well, we scored a 45 out of 100. Now, a lot of people are like, wow, we could probably be doing, we could be doing better. And we could definitely be doing better. But believe me, 45 is not a bad score when you compare us to other cities that are supposedly known as bicycle-friendly, all right? You look at Ashland, we're right behind them. Look at Austin, Texas. A lot of people think that Austin is like bike capital of the world, and we're actually blowing them out of the water as far as our city rating. But that doesn't mean we stop here. If you look at this map, all the red is where there's opportunity for us to add bicycle infrastructure, okay? When we talk about things like MOGO, which is the bike share, and where they put different stations, they look at maps like this and they say, how can we address the needs of the people and put these stations where they're best needed? All of this information goes into our city rating, okay? Once again, you see all that red, so we have a lot of improvement to do. Once again, I love to talk about big events. This is a picture from our crew hanging out and riding. And for people who don't know, we average between 5,000 and 7,000 people a week that came down to Detroit on a weekly basis to ride bikes. They came down here, and another interesting fact that later in life, I started to really process it. I met with some people in the city one day, and they said, do you know that in a summer, Slow Roll brings in a minimum of $7 million a summer? That's parking, restaurants, tickets, all those cool things. So we're not just bringing events back for bicyclists, we're bringing events back for everyone. If you ask anyone who has opened a business on any of the new bike paths that we've built, they will tell you their business has improved. Okay, when you put businesses on bike paths where people tend to slow down and look at the things around them, they tend to spend money, all right? There's another photo. That was kind of pointing out you can bring a bike share here, but you have to invest in the community. And another good thing MOGO did is they really did that. They really examined the community. They didn't come in and say, we're going to put bikes in here and you guys figure it out. They talked to the community and really examined where they needed to go. So you can build it, but they might not come. So in short, we're talking about bicycle infrastructure and bicycle changes. In short, we just need to get more people on bikes. I got 1 minute left to talk about the new thing, really, and I should have talked about this more, which is electric bikes. For those who aren't aware about electric bikes are pedal assist bikes that help you go a little bit further a little bit faster, all right? I am now, so a little more story on myself. So once I left Slow Roll, and then I opened Detroit's first and only all-electric bike store. It was called Electric Avenue Bikes. And the reason I say it was called Electric Avenue Bikes is a month ago we were acquired by Trek. So Trek now has 8 stores in Michigan. And the good thing about that also is Trek is giving me the ability to reinvest in the community. I always say if people would have came at me and asked me for $1,000 a year ago, I would have said no. Well, now I can say no, I don't have it, but I can say I know somebody who might. So now I can put you in touch with somebody. So that's a little bit about me. Definitely come check us out. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to catch you up on what we're doing, and hopefully I can get you out on some bikes, everybody. Thank you.